And welcome to Disaster Party Podcast. As always, this is Rob Stadio, joined by my co-host.
Daddy, it's your boy Andy Bivians. That's Bivians, for I am the one true daddy of Bivians INC, your American icon. And tonight we have the key because it's 60. Whoa, daddy.
Whoa, daddy. The key, because it's 60.
60!
For those who don't know, we are actually going to be speaking about Marvel's own Eternals, now available on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus should give us a shout out. Just saying.
Yeah, we've been reviewing a lot of Disney Plus shows.
About a Marvel movies and Disney Plus shows. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I mean, they're all good. So I don't really mind doing it. We're talking about things that we enjoy. So
Facts.
facts on facts on facts. So what, I mean, we can just jump right into it. We were supposed to record last night. Sorry about that. There was this big talk of a big storm today, which actually wasn't as bad as everyone thought. And I took Banks, Taylor and I took Banks to bounce for a birthday party that he got invited to. So we were there, tired, and it just kind of, I knocked out at like 8:00, and I was like, all right, wake me up in like 30 minutes. And she was like, okay. And then she woke me up, and me and Andy were like, we're both tired. You want to do it tomorrow? We're like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah. I sat there and I literally had everything set up, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm falling asleep while I'm at the chair. So to not hear me snoring throughout an entire podcast, thought it would be better to have a little bit more sleep. Some energy. I got some energy. Some red line. Let's go. Red line shouts.
Oh,
I'm so tired.
I have a Anti-Hero IPA, 6.7% alcohol, baby.
Ooh. I would take a shot of Henny, but I unfortunately ran out.
Okay, no worries. I mean, I got vodka here. I got Jameson. I got Fireball. Like, can I pass the G through the screen?
Let's do it.
Word.
Just pass it my way. Throw it
Word.
my way. I take it.
Yes, sir. All right. So, before we jump into the movie, again, we are going to be reviewing Eternals. I honestly wasn't super excited about the movie because they're not a mainstay kind of in the Marvel like comic book. It's not like one of those comic book groups that you're like, oh yeah, the Eternals. Kind of like how Guardian of the Galaxy was. Like they were known, but they weren't part of like the main group. So they were kind of like a third party. So this is kind of the same way. So I was excited to see it, but I didn't really know what to expect.
We're definitely gonna cover this at the end. I know it feels like every movie I do now, I jump from beginning to the end. But um, it's funny because I'm the same way. I haven't really read up on Eternals. I didn't really know too much about it. However, though, the end credit scene that we will go over later on, I just finished reading the comic that had certain people. So I was very excited when I saw that, and then it got my mind turning on how they would play a role because as of where Marvel stands right now, they can't run with that storyline. So I'm very interested to see on where they will go.
I'm interested to hear what you're about to say or at the end because I don't know what you're talking about.
Facts.
All right. All right. So let's just jump into it, okay?
Let's roll.
So this movie jumps around timelines a lot. So if we get the general timeline wrong, just bear with us. A lot happens in this movie, so we're not going to go into super detail about every little thing. This movie, in my opinion, is worth going to watch. It's 2 hours and 36 minutes, so it's a little bit of a long one, but it's good. The ending makes me curious on how it's going to lead in. The final battle, I'm curious on how it's going to play out later with other Marvel licenses. So yeah.
You're definitely gonna have to explain the ending to me because I'm still a little confused.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. All right. So it's like 5000 BC, so like before Christ. There's 10 superpowered Eternals, which are basically almost like, how do you say it? It's like they're like godlike figures, um, but they all have different powers, right? So I'm going to go through the names. We have Ajac, who has healing powers. Cersei, who can turn things into other things. Icarus, he could fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes. Kingo has the fists, right? Like power fists, right?
Yeah, it's almost like the rings, sort of, but not really the rings.
Kind of like yeah, from Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
Kind of, yeah. You have Sprite, who is a young girl who she could basically like shapeshift. She's almost like Loki. Like she could shapeshift and then make herself like appear. Like she could make people see things.
yeah.
Um Fastos, what was his power? Oh, he
It's a
was like a engineer, so he was building things.
yeah,
Um, then you have Makari, which she was the fast one, right?
yeah. She's almost like a speedster type deal.
Yeah. I feel like I have one of them wrong though.
I feel like one of them, or was that the next one, Gilgamesh? Was that the one with the
I feel like
he could shoot
Gilgamesh was the one with the fists.
he could shoot stuff out of his hands?
No, I think that was Kingo. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So Kingo could shoot like he has like the, the gun fingers, like our boy Nick. Choo-choo. So
Pew
he could shoot lasers out of his hand. Gilgamesh has the fist, and then Thena is Angelina Jolie, and she basically can essentially generate swords and weapons from her hand, and she's like a a warrior essentially.
She is the Athena,
Yeah,
the
she's the
goddess.
yep. So they're sent to Earth by a celestial on their spaceship, and the whole thing is that the Eternals can only interfere when it comes to deviants. So essentially, they get sent to Earth to go fight the deviants, and there's different Eternals apparently just spread through the universe fighting different deviants. The last deviant, like it shows their battles with the deviants, and they almost look like alien dogs in a way early on.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a lizard type deal.
yeah, like a lizard dog.
Yeah, like if you ever watched Resident Evil and you had that like liquor type deal, it kind of looked like one of those,
Agreed.
but with actual face.
Yeah. So, the last deviants on Earth were killed in apparently 1521. And the group kind of all had different mindsets. And it kind of through this whole scene, it shows that like Cersei was really into like humans and she was always helping. You could see that Icarus was falling in love with her. You see, Thena, she starts having like these weird, she almost like her body gets taken over and she starts fighting people like her own team. Um, Fastos, he just wants to build things to advance humans, like the technology, but they're told not to interfere. So every time he thinks of something good, he's like, "Oh, I can't yet." Um, and then Ajax is like the leader, and so Druid too. Druid, he can control people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I actually really liked his character to be honest, because like I feel like him out of everybody made the most sense of what was
Yeah.
going on.
So it's like they all have different powers, so that's why they're a good team. So in 1521, they're kind of all having this whole discussion of, hey, we're kind of just living through the world, like the world of humans, and we can't interfere with anything like through wars and stuff. And you could see they're all kind of getting antsy, like what to do. And Druid's like, I don't want to see them kill each other anymore. I could stop their killing with one snap, essentially. And then, Ajax's like, no, you can't do that. So they're kind of having this discussion of like what to do. So they all decide that they're gonna basically split up, and they're gonna wait until um Arsham, Arisham, basically the Celestial, to tell them when they can go home.
Yeah, and that's when I think Athena loses control on her powers, and she starts literally fighting everybody. And that is when Kingo is like, "I will watch over Athena. I will make
No,
it my life's."
Gilgamesh. Sorry.
Or Gilgamesh, yeah. He'll make it his life's mission to make sure like she's okay and she kind of just stays in her own lane and doesn't hurt anybody. And if he needs to, then he'll do what he has to do. Um, and then Druid, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Durag. He kind of like shows his power, and as everybody's like fighting outside the castle walls, he kind of just stops everybody, and everybody just stops fighting and kind of like turns, and you see how he has like control over everybody. They're like, no, we can't interfere, we can't be a part of this, we can't help. So it kind of goes into explaining on why like they've been around for this entire time, and even with everything going on with like Endgame and everything with Thanos, why they didn't interfere, because they couldn't interfere with humans' problems.
Yeah, it's only if the druids or the deviants are involved. But then there was like little scenes. Like I said, this movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes or 36 minutes. But there's a scene like in the medieval times that Druid, they're all fighting in the bar, and he just stops the fight. And then Makari, she like stole stuff because she's so fast, and she like brought it to sell. So it kind of just showed a little bit of the each and every one of their personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you get to present day, where you see Cersei and Sprite living together in London, and after Cersei's partner, so I guess Cersei was with Icarus, and they kind of go through this whole timeline on how they got married, how they met, how they fell in love and stuff, and then it switches, and now she's in a relationship with a human named Dane Whitman, who works at the Natural History Museum, and is while at the museum, they're attacked by a deviant. Um, and then Icarus kind of stops, kind of helps them defeat the deviant. And I remember them saying something like, he was like, "Oh, why don't you just live with me?" And she's like, "I can't." And then she starts talking about her ex, and how her ex is like a pilot, aka Icarus, who can fly. But and he's like, "Oh, is that the pilot?" But then they realize like it's a different type of deviant. Like he's kind of like almost like evolved a little bit. Like he's moving faster. He's able to withstand like her powers a little bit until they finally get a hold of him and defeat him.
Yeah, so from the deviants that we've already seen, this one kind of had tentacles that
Yeah.
that the other ones didn't. So it seemed, like you said, it seemed a little bit more powerful. But this was like cool because I know we're kind of skimming through a little bit, but it showed that Circe is a teacher now, and Dane Whitman works with her, and how they went on dates and stuff. And and then he was teasing her, going, "You're a wizard, aren't you?" And she's like, "No, no, no." And then after they kind of defeat the deviant, actually they don't, it gets away. um he's like, "So you are a wizard?" And she's like, "Well, no, not really." And then he's like, "Well, why didn't we see you guys when Thanos came?" And then she actually says, like, "We can only interfere when it comes to deviants." Do you want to know something? Oh no, I'll wait till the end. Remind me. Because no, actually, I'll
Okay.
say it now. I'll say it now. Technically, Thanos is an Eternal with a deviant gene. in the comic books.
Okay, so that clears that up because don't remember who asked me, but if you're watching this uh, question, yes, it's an Eternal. Because he's also a Mad Titan.
Well, he's Mad Titan because he lived on Titan.
So like, got you. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought that was like a different, almost like a different species as well.
Well, I know the planet that Thanos lived on was called Titan,
Yeah.
and then apparently he is an Eternal with a deviant gene, which is why he's purple.
Okay, then that makes sense for
Yeah.
later on,
Yeah.
which is what I was talking about
Well,
in the
we'll get to that.
beginning.
We'll get to that. But I wanted to add that
Exactly.
in that technically in the comic books, Thanos is a deviant, sort of. So, all right. All right. So now,
Ooh,
Icarus.
that raises so many more questions.
Yeah, I know. Icarus, Sprite, and Circe are like, oh shit, that deviant was one of the strongest ones we've ever faced. We need to get the team back together. Let's go reunite with Ajax, which is the leader. So they go to her house in South Dakota and they find her dead. Like on the ground, her house is destroyed, everything is destroyed, and they're kind of like, what the fuck is happening? So Circe goes outside just to kind of be like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. And she, I guess, like Ajac has some kind of thing inside of her. I don't know, like a gold ball, and it comes out of her and goes into Circe, and it kind of chooses Circe to be Ajac's like successor or new leader. And it gives Circe the ability to communicate with the Celestials.
Oh, also before that, we see you just said her name. We
Ajac?
see the leader. No, Dakota.
No,
No,
Ajac is the leader.
Ajac. Okay, we see Ajac get brought to these Celestials, and we see her kind of like talk with them for like moments here and there, saying like, "Oh, the time is coming. The time is now." It like flat throughout like the beginning of the movie, so you're not 100% sure on like what they're talking about until it's farther on. But
Yeah. You're going robot a lot, bro. I don't know what's going on.
am I really?
Yeah. But like it's like you're going really fast, really slow. But I don't know. We'll work itself out. So Cersei accidentally contacts the Celestials and learns that the mission of the Eternals was not to fight the Deviants, but to actually prepare the Earth for something called the Emergence. And the Celestial explains that for millions of years, they've been planting seeds of new celestials inside planets where the energy from large populations allows them to grow. So, okay, if you don't understand it, so basically each planet has a big seed that's going to grow a celestial, which is like this huge, like, I don't know, like god like Galactus looking motherfucker, like a big guy.
Huge.
That if you want to compare it, Cersei is in his hand, and she's so small that she's not even like the size of his finger. So like these things are huge, right?
Yeah.
But when I heard that, right, I was like, isn't that what Ego was for Guardian of the Galaxy?
I think so, but I think in a different form because Ego was the planet.
Well, didn't he plant seeds into different planets to absorb their energy and take them over essentially?
Yes.
So it's kind of like the same thing, but this is based off of the population. So because like in the 500 BC, the population wasn't big enough to generate the energy to make the celestial born. But I guess now that the planet in present day, I think Marvel is like 2025, the planet has enough energy to now help the celestial become being born. So I guess Cersei finds out that this thing is happening pretty soon. So the deviants were sent to destroy the apex predators of each planet. So essentially, these deviants are just here to destroy, like, I don't know, in like the 1500s, like lions or dinosaurs or stuff like that, to kind of like the strong things on the planet, so that there would be no fight against the celestial being born. Um, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say yeah. That's kind of just how they described like how the dinosaurs were wiped out and like
Yeah.
how like the planet kept restarting itself over and over again. So like now she's sitting there with like, do I help them with the emergence or do I help my planet? That I now realize that I've multiple times.
Yeah, but it was kind of weird because like they made it seem like the deviants were there to stop any like intelligent life forms and or advancements, and then I guess the Eternals were sent there to stop the deviants from getting too carried away, but then they're not allowed to interfere with the advancements of humans. So it's kind of like this weird thing, I guess. Uh, so basically, one of the deviants evolved and it began hunting the planet's native population of the Eternals, basically to hunt them. And so, with the reversal of the blip, the Earth has reached the necessary population for the birth of the celestial to be born. So what did they say? They said if the celestial is born, it will destroy the planet and it will become like a
Mm-hmm.
star to create future um planets and stuff. But if it doesn't get born, then the planet will stay safe, but then it will prevent millions of billions of future beings being created.
And they were saying because of the blip, it altered their timeline because it was supposed to happen before the blip, but the blip took out their necessary population, so they had to wait. But then once the blip came back and everybody came back, they had even more people to kind of hit that timeline.
So this whole thing, Cersei is like freaking out because she didn't know any of this. The only person that knew this was Ajax. So now here's a theory. What if Thanos, since he was eternal and a deviant at the same time, he knew what was going on this whole time, and that's why he blipped.
Oh,
Because he knew that if the planets had enough people on it, it would bring the energy needed to make the celestials. So by cutting half of the population of the entire universe, it would then stall the creation of any future celestials.
this planet is not worthy of its people. That's why we
Ooh,
cut it in half.
but
No
wild
judgment.
theory, wild theory. Um,
That's crazy. That's a possibility, though.
yeah, yeah. So now, after all that description, the remaining internals, so we have Cersei, Sprite, and Icarus, are now on the journey to reunite with the other Eternals. So they first go find Kingo, right? And he is he oh my god, what's his name? He's a comedian in real life. But he is in this right now, and in the movie they go find him and he's like a Bollywood actor. and he's on set like filming a movie, and he's getting all excited, and his little secretary, or like whatchamacallit, like
His Alfred.
yeah, his like I don't know, personal assistant, I guess, is just there kind of being like, oh yeah, this is Kingo, blah blah. And they're like, yeah, we know. But the cool thing is that they end up taking Kingo's plane, and in his plane he has all these different photos, and he goes, yeah, so the way that I stay young, because they don't age, he's like, the way that I stay relevant is that was my great grandfather, and then my grandfather, and then my father. And he's just like basically saying that he's just playing different people, but with like different facial hair and stuff. So that's actually pretty funny. um so from there they end up going to meet Gilgamesh and Athena, and they go like in the middle of, basically in the middle of like a desert almost.
Yeah.
And she has a little moment that she goes and turns on them again. Gilgamesh is able to calm her down, just being like, everything's going to be okay. And they calm her down. And then they end up having like dinner and they're joking around together. And Sprite says something that, like, oh, so what are the Avengers going to do now since Iron Man and Captain America are gone? And then Icarus is like, I could lead them. And they're like, yeah, you can't even lead here. That's why Cersei was picked to lead us. So I was like, it's cool how they kind of played that, so you know that they're in the same universe, and that
They did
they,
a lot with that too, with the Avengers and making like Avengers and Endgame references and like references to Cap.
yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. So now we're going into we're going to go meet Druig again, and he is basically has his own little town in like the Amazon rainforest, and all the people are under his control, you can see, and he's just trying, like, I guess he was just trying to stay out of it and just keeping this whole town under his control. So they go, they meet up, blah blah blah. So the deviants now end up attacking this town, and it's kind of cool seeing Druig's powers, because like he doesn't fight, he doesn't have like fighting powers, but he was having the townspeople under his control, like shooting the deviants, like that was cool.
It was like they all shot at the same time. They all reloaded at the same time.
Yeah. So like this was actually like really cool overall. There's a big fight scene. They're going back and forth. There's like four different deviants. They're all fighting. And at one point, the big deviant's back, and he basically goes in. They're all fighting him. They end up killing all the other ones. But Gilgamesh is like, hey, I'm gonna fight this one. You guys go take care of the townspeople. And Gilgamesh ends up getting killed by this deviant, but you could see the tentacles actually absorbed his powers. So he ends up dying, and now you see this deviant. He's like growing, and he has like the fist now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
He's
go ahead.
he starts like mutating from like a lizard type deal into like a walking human. His eyes split, and now he has like all of his memories. Um he can see him and do his voice. Cersei at one point is like drowned deviant and turns a deviant into a tree. Where um Icarus is like getting his ass whooped by a deviant and almost dies. Like so much is going on like in this little spot, but it's it was awesome to see how like he was taking the eternal power, draining it, and then evolving himself.
Yeah.
He's using other Eternals to like evolve himself, and then that plays out later on, which I thought was really a really cool point too.
And at this point, we see this deviant. This is the second time we've seen him. I guess they call him Crow, Kro. When they fought him in London, they were attacking him, and they could see he was reviving, like he was healing himself. And at this point, he's doing the same thing. But little do we know yet what actually. Oh no, no, we pretty much figured out that This is the same deviant that got Ajax. So Ajax powers was healing powers. So again, so now this deviant has healing powers, and then he has like the fist powers, the fist like punch.
I wonder if that's connected
What do you mean?
to Shang. Like it was almost the same deal as Shang-Chi.
You know what it could be? I also heard rumors that if you look at Shang-Chi, it says the 10 rings, and there's 10 Eternals.
Oh, okay.
And then maybe at the end of Shang-Chi, when they're like, oh, something big's coming, it could be a celestial.
Oh, that makes sense.
Could be. Theory.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So after this, they go, okay, we need to go find everybody else before this deviant gets to everybody else. They go to Fastos, and you could see that he's just living a regular life. He doesn't want to be involved with anything anymore. And they showed a flashback that I
My
guess
favorite.
yeah, but they showed a flashback that I guess he was the reason why the bombing happened, the nuclear bomb in
Hmm.
Osaka
Hmm.
or in Japan, if I'm
In
saying it wrong.
Japan.
In Japan, and he was like at on the ground, like crying, going, I gave them this technology. I didn't think they would use it that way. So he's like, I hate humans. And he basically gave up. He was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So it basically shows that he is just acting like a regular dude. Um, he has a spouse, a husband, and they adopted a kid, and he just wants to live a regular, ordinary life. And Icarus, Cersei, and Sprite are there. And no, it was just Cersei and
And
Icarus, right?
yeah.
And they're trying to convince him to, hey, this is what's happening, blah blah. And then they have this scene that they're like, oh, you probably made all these things in this house. What is this table made out of? Vibranium. And they hit it and just breaks.
He said, "No, that was IKEA, man. Vintage."
um yeah. So
Spring
then they
model.
eventually convince him to come, and the husband's like, hey, you have to go, you have to protect us, because at this point they know that there's like a clock. There's a time clock with whenever this celestial is going to be born. So now they end up going back to like a desert, and they find their old ship. And on the ship is Makari. I think that's what her name is. Yeah, Makari. And she's on the ship, and she's like, oh, are we ready to go home now? And they're like, nah. No.
We gonna be here for a minute.
Yeah. And they kind of fill her in. And then they have this big Fastos is like, okay, what about this? What about if we do this whole unimind thing? We can connect between all of us, and we give Druid enough power to basically put the celestial back to sleep. So their whole plan is, so don't let it wake up, so it doesn't destroy the planet, and by it not dying, it won't like prevent other bad things to happen. So they're like, all right, let's
Mhm.
put it to sleep. However, we find out now that Icarus reveals, or it shows like a flashback, that Icarus knew that the emergence was coming, and Ajax told him. And it happened before and before and before. And basically, what happens is that they've actually done this. This group of Eternals have done this many times, but every single time a Celestial is born, their memory gets wiped. And the whole thing with Thena is that the reason why she turns, and when she turns, she's like, they're all gonna die, they're all gonna die, is because she's remembering some of her past things with the
Planets, yeah.
yeah, the past planets. So basically, at this point, Icarus turns on her. Oh no! So before that, they show a flashback of Icarus knowing, and Ajax saying, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I like this planet. I want to save them. I'm going to stop this." And when she told him that, he then said, "Hey, I found the deviants. The deviants are back." And he leads her to these deviants. And she's like, "I can't believe you're going to do this." And basically, she realized he's going to turn on her. "I can't believe you're going to do this, blah, blah, blah." He pushes her into, like, I don't know, on ice where the deviants are. And they basically attack her, kill her, and they absorb her power. So now it shows that she wasn't killed at her house. She was killed in like some Arctic place. And then Icarus picked her up, brought her to her house, destroyed her house to make it look like deviants, and left her for dead. So he knew this whole thing this whole time.
So the cool part about all of that is that you kind of see like he doesn't want to do it, but he knows like his loyalty lies with the emergence. And so once he kills her, Crow comes out and he absorbs her power with like his tentacles or whatever, and takes it. Then he flies down, picks her up, and then flies away. And you see him starting to cry and whatnot. But Crow goes to the other like 3 or 4 deviants that are there, and after he evolves, he takes his tentacles, throws them into the other 3 or 4 deviants, and then evolves them as well. So they go from like these like lizard lion looking things to, I think one's a pterodactyl, one looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like they just evolve into like different types of like animals, and then they all just run out of the cave.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, yeah. So afterwards, Icarus is like, "Listen, I'm not letting you guys do this. I'm gonna stop you. Don't even try it." And Sprite joins Icarus and they leave. Sprite, it is revealed that is in love with Icarus, but due to her age and like her appearance, like he'll never reciprocate it because he's also in love with Cersei. So at this point, when Sprite and Icarus leave, Kingo decides, he's like, "Listen, I'm not I'm not helping you guys." He goes, "I'm not with them, but I'm not helping you. I don't think we stand a chance." And that was it. And I'm like, okay. So the rest of them, so we have Cersei, Makari, Fastos, and Druid, right? So Fastos makes this, whatever piece of machinery that if they could find out where the emergence is going to take place, they can kind of figure out what's going on. So they make the machine. Makari runs around the planet. She finds the place. It's an active volcano in the Indian Ocean. And Icarus and Sprite are already there. So they already knew. So they get there and, there's a big fight and stuff like that. At one point, Druid knocks out Sprite, and Fastos restrains Icarus while this was like, oh no. So this whole scene was cool. So I don't. They're all fighting.
So much.
Yeah, there's so much here. They're all fighting. Icarus is fighting. Sprite is here and there. They're all fighting. They're like, "No, let's not do this. Yes, this is about yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no." So as they're fighting, Crow arrives and he's trying to kill all of them. So like they're teaming to fight Crow, but then at one point, like they're teaming, even Crow is teaming up with them to fight Icarus, and it becomes this thing of like triple threat, right? Um,
Yeah.
so they send Cersei to go stop the monster. So now the plan is, oh no, Druid gets knocked out, right?
Druid, yeah, Druid gets knocked out. Cersei is, I think, standing. So she sees, I think, her parents in front of her. Or she sees Ajax in front of her, and Ajax is talking to her, and she was like, "I have to stop this, da 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 da." But she knows that
Sprite.
it's Sprite, and Sprite winds up stabbing her in the back, and then that's when Druid comes awake again and hits her with a rock and knocks her out.
Yeah, so Druid knocks out Sprite. And then eventually Fastos gets Icarus in this like cool, like this cool, like mechanical like lock. Like he's like tied up and he couldn't move. I was like, where the fuck did he pull that shit from? And then he's almost fighting with rings too, because he has like rings on his wrist. Very
Yeah,
similar to Shang-Chi. So that was cool. So we have Fastos and Makari. They're kind of watching over Icarus. Druig is watching over Sprite, who's knocked out. You have Cersei heading toward the Celestial. And then you have Thena, who found Crow and was like, I'm gonna fuck you up. So
oh, this was great.
yeah. So basically Crow arrives and there's like a scene with him and Thena. They're fighting. Thena gets like beat up, and you're like, oh shit, is she gonna die? And she looks like she's knocked out, and then like she's getting lifted up by the tentacles. He like goes to like absorb her, and right in that moment, she like opens her eyes, like forms some swords out of her hand, and just like chops this shit up. But before that, he pulls up the voice of Gilgamesh and was like,
Yes.
calm down, and used her emotions almost against her.
Well, because she had an episode where she
Yeah.
broke, and like she's fighting, 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 and then Gilgamesh is like, "I've always loved you. You were always the one. That's why." Like he's talking to her as if like it's his spirit inside of her, and he is like, "Give me your hand. Remember." And she's like, "Yes, I will." So she's like under like this trance, and then all of a sudden he like holds her and like kind of wraps everything around and like slowly picks her up, and he's like, I feel so bad for having to kill you. Like, I always loved you. It was always you. And then he starts absorbing her, and like, you think like it's done for her. And that's like when Rob said she rips out the knives and like slices his shit up, and then he like
Like into
falls.
pieces.
Yeah, like right in half. And then she's like, I remember everything. And then
Yeah.
it switches to Cersei trying to fly up.
But at this point, Druig is trying to put the Celestial to sleep, and it's not working. And so Cersei is like, all right, I have to try to turn this fucking giant ass thing into marble. So she's heading up there. Icarus breaks free of his restraints and goes to fly to Cersei, and they're like face to face. And she's already turning it into marble. It's already working, and he's like about to kill her, but then he's like, "I can't kill you. I love you." So now, because all of the Crow is dead, and all of the Eternals that are left, like that Unimind thing that Fastos created is now working. So it pretty much lifts all of the Eternals up in the air as almost like they're flying, including Sprite, including Icarus. And then they all come back down, and Cersei just puts her hands on the Celestial and ends up turning the whole thing. She has enough power to turn like the whole thing into marble.
And that was a big thing too, because the Celestial originally said the reason of why they survived, all of them, is because they're not human. They're all been programmed to do certain things and to have certain roles. And that's why. That's why. The chick. That's why the chick loves Icarus, and why Icarus loves Cersei. It's them back together they're in one mind, saved them from the planet's demise. Like the Celestials, like captured them while the planet had demise. They were all linked together, then put them back in their respective spots. So like
Yeah.
even if Icarus wanted to kill her, he couldn't because he was programmed to love her. He couldn't like force his hand.
Yeah. It's like they have free will, but they don't in the same way.
It's like to a certain extent.
Yeah, and like that's why it's like when the planets get destroyed, their memories of that free will gets erased, and then they become almost like robotic again.
Hmm.
They're not so robotic, but like they're almost like they don't remember anything or their past or their fighting or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, so now the Celestial is like a quarter of the way out of the Earth, and you could see like its head out, and it's now turned into marble. So at this point, I'm like, one, where are the Avengers at this point? Like, where is everybody? Nobody notices this big head coming out of the ground. Like, what? Um, and it caused like earthquakes and all this stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought people, but hopefully that shows in future ones, like they'll talk about, oh, this like new mountain, this face mountain that looks like in the Indian Ocean, you know?
Just randomly appeared.
Yeah. So after this whole thing, they all kind of land back on the beach because they're off the beach. And Sprite uh wants to be turned into a human so she can age. She wants to live like a regular life. So because Cersei still has the power, it like hasn't diminished yet. She ends up turning Sprite into a human so that she can age. Thena,
She like
Druig,
absorbs her power, right?
no, she doesn't absorb it. She just gets rid of it.
Oh, okay.
So now Thena, Druig, and Makari take their ship to find other Eternals on different planets to warn them of the emergence. While Ciri, Fastos, and Kingo, who is now back, because now they meet up with Kingo. They're back in, I think, London. They meet up with Kingo. Kingo gives Sprite like a car, and she's going to school. I guess they're shipping her off to like some school so she can get like normal human interaction and age and stuff. So now it's just Cersei, Fastos, and Kingo who remain on Earth as Eternals. The other three are going to go find other Eternals to kind of warn them what's really happening. At this point, we got Dane Whitman. He is now with Cersei walking through a park, and they're all joking about like, oh, her powers and stuff. And then Dane is like, hey, I actually have something to tell you. It's kind of a secret about my family history. And then she's about to, or he's about to, and then you see the Celestial, the one that was given them the demands, shows up on Earth and takes Cersei, Fastos, and Kingo, and they're dragged into space. And they're basically, the Celestial is like displeased that they didn't listen, and they basically treasonous. And he says he will spare humanity if the Eternals' memories show that humans are worth living. Again, how did none of the Avengers realize a big ass celestial being that was bigger than the planet just shows up and no one says anything?
Right, because this is after the blip too, so this is after Endgame. So
Yeah.
how did they not see that?
Mhm.
Also, one huge thing after after she turns the Celestial into marble, and Icarus realizes that he
Oh
is
yeah.
defeated, Icarus takes off and flies into the sun.
Because he's
You
like
know,
disappointed in himself.
Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, he just flies. He flies right into the sun.
After it happened, it took me a second, and then I got it, and I was like, "Oh, Icarus flies too close." The whole deal on that, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. That's cool that they did that."
But I don't even know if he's dead,
Uh,
realistically.
and even realistically, he may not be, because he was
Yeah.
almost like Marvel's Superman.
At one point,
And then
Fastos' kid says, "Oh, you're like Superman," and I was like, "Wait, they said that in a Marvel movie?"
yeah, yeah, he was like, "You got a cape, right?" And he's like, "I don't wear a cape." And also Dane, what is his name? Dane
Whitman
Whitman.
or
He
Whiteman.
looks he looks at us like, hey, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you are. I and like you see like she wants to like live her life now, or that her planet's not going to be destroyed. And she kind of like has a breakdown moment and hugs him right before he gets taken.
Yeah.
Or before she gets taken, I should say.
So basically, yeah, the Celestial takes them, vowing to return for judgment. He takes them into singularity or whatever that is. So I guess a planet or something. So that's how the movie ends. So the movie ends, this big ass celestial being takes the three Eternals that are left on Earth for judgment. Again, we don't know how this plays into any other Marvel films. I hope they have to bring it up. Like, they have to bring it up that there's a half a celestial head in the Indian Ocean and a big celestial being showed up and just grabbed three people and just left. Like, they have to explain it.
Well, you got to think of like who's left of the Avengers. Like Tony Stark would have found that out, but Tony Stark's dead. Captain America would have found Captain America is old
True.
or dead. I'm
Thor's
still
off planet.
uh, Thor's off planet. Hulk is
Well, they're gonna show
MIA.
where he is in She-Hulk, and he was at
Yep.
the end of Shang-Chi.
Oh, was he? So, see, I never saw the end of Shang-Chi.
He was in the post-credit scene.
Okay. And then you have Nick Fury, who, if
Off
you count
planet.
out Spider-Man, has been off planet.
Spider-Man, everyone
So
forgot who he is.
Black Widow's dead.
Hawkeye's in New York. And I
So
don't
yeah,
think he could take on a celestial being.
by himself. Who's left?
Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange are probably going to take whatever's going on in Multiverse of Madness. Ant-Man is whatever he's doing in Quantum Realm, the next movie.
Yep.
Black
So like,
Panther,
there's really no round.
we have no idea what's going on with Black Panther. Obviously, there's going to be a replacement.
I mean, Wakanda could have helped, but we don't know. They're gonna come out and they were gonna,
But at this point, we don't know how long that battle
using
scene
their
could have been. Like,
resources.
that's true. That battle scene could have been like an hour, realistically. So by the time anybody was like, what is going on? Oh, wait, let's get over there. Oh, it's already over.
Yeah,
And then
that's true.
and there's like, oh, what is that giant celestial that's outside the planet? Oh, let's go see. Oh, he's gone.
They were probably like, we remember what happened with Thanos. Fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they acknowledge it, But again, they left this open for definitely another movie for sure. So let's get to the mid-credit scene. So
Facts.
we have Thena, Makari, and Druid are on their ship. They're flying around space looking for other Eternals. And all of a sudden, this Pip the troll, this little troll guy, pops up out of nowhere. And he's like, and he does this big introduction. Here is Eros, Star Fox, the eternal brother of Thanos, liver on Titan, like all this stuff. And you're like, what? And he's basically like, I'm here to help my future Eternals. And that's pretty much how that ends. And it's Harry Styles, the singer. I think he sings that Watermelon Sugar song.
Yeah. So that was
yeah.
interesting because the comic that I read, they introduce him as he wants to kill his brother Thanos. So Thanos is already blipped, so he's no longer around. So it's interesting to see on what they do with him.
I did a little research on him myself, and his nickname is Star Fox. And his thing is that he is Thanos' brother, half brother, and he lived on Titan, but I guess he was off Titan when it got destroyed. One thing I read about Star Fox or Eros is that his power is like he manipulates people. So he actually got in a lot of trouble in the comic books for like sexual assault kind of thing. Like he was basically manipulating women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was like a big thing that he was in the comic books, but then he was like a good guy, and then at parts he was a bad guy. So it's kind of like Good guy
Okay.
with he's like a good guy with bad intentions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Almost like a low key, like you could like him, you could trust him for a little, but he'll probably turn on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second post credit scene, um, it now shows Dane Whitman or Whiteman inheriting the ebony blade from his ancestors, and an unseen person, who we know it is, questions if he's ready for it or not. So let's clarify this. Dane is the Black Knight in the comic books. The Black Knight is essentially that. He is a knight that wears black, like a medieval knight that wears black with a magical
Okay.
sword that essentially gives him like almost like super abilities. So he almost, because of the magic of the sword, he almost becomes a lower version of Captain America. Like he doesn't have the same speed or power, but he has better speed and power and strength than like a normal human.
Okay. That makes sense now.
He's been part of the
I had no idea
Avengers.
who he
Yeah, he's been
was.
part of the Avengers. He's been part of a bunch of different groups. Uh he's not like, I guess he used to be a main part of the Avengers, but not so much anymore because he's kind of, everything I've read, he's kind of a boring character. He's kind of just like Captain America with a sword, but weaker.
Fair enough.
And so,
But who was the voice?
do you know?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. The voice was Blade.
Okay. I thought so. I wasn't 100% sure, but I thought so. And it's not the new Blade.
No, it is the new Blade.
Is it the new Blade?
It is the actor who plays the new Blade.
I thought that was Wesley Snipes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was the new Blade. And
Oh, that's
so,
exciting.
right there, this movie has set up a lot. Let's talk about it real quick. They set up that 3 Eternals have been taken, and now their memories are gonna be determined if the planet Earth survives or not. You have Star Fox, Thanos' brother, Eros, who now those 3 plus Eros are gonna go find other Eternals to stop that whole cycle. And now you have Black Knight and Blade. Don't know how that works out. I really don't know how that works out. But now they are now introduced to, and when I say it like this, like we said in Hawkeye, there's intergalactical superheroes like Guardian of the Galaxy, Miss Marvel, Eternals, and now you have like ground Earth heroes. So now you have like Black Knight, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Black Widow, if you want to say like Elena, and you have Blade, you have Daredevil. If Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are still in, those characters are like on Earth. Spider-Man on Earth.
Yeah.
So now you're adding to the on Earth, like not mystical, because like Black Knight has like magic powers to his sword, but he's not like mystical like Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch. So it's more, they're adding more on planet and they're adding more off planet. It like Marvel is getting big. It's like getting like too big
No,
almost.
it's gonna be huge. And apparently, Multiverse of Madness, um, from a text group that we were in, I think it was you that were saying it, was supposed to have the most known Marvel characters
I think Brent said
beating
that, yeah.
Endgame. Yeah, that's gonna be dope then,
And they
just to see
reshot
what
a
they
lot of that
do.
stuff too.
So there's a lot that they could set up just from that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So um
I'm hyped.
that was Eternals. What did you guys think? If leave it in the comments. We put a post on Facebook and Instagram. Leave your comments on the post. We didn't do live today, but that's okay. We'll do live maybe next week or the week after. I think we'll do live for the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
So Andy,
I'm excited.
overall thoughts, and what would you give it a 1 out of 10?
Ah, that's so hard because like I liked Eternals. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, and I realized that they took certain things out that I didn't think they would. Um, but I would say action wise, I'd probably give it like an 8 or 9. Story wise, I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8. Like it was good. It wasn't rushed too much, but I felt like just like the other one, like there was a lot of stuff that was like unexplained, so to speak. Um, but yeah, no, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I want to see where they move forward with that. What about you?
I'm gonna say solid movie overall. It was a little long, but I understand why, because they have to kind of give them the whole story. Um, but I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Wasn't my favorite, wasn't the worst. Um, if you want to talk about like 2021 Marvel movies, I'd say it was probably on the bottom half, but there was only three Marvel movies in 2021.
Yes.
I think it was Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Spider-Man.
Okay. Yeah. If we're not counting like the shows and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So Spider-Man number one, Shang-Chi number two, close number two. I really like Shang-Chi. And then Eternals would be three.
Okay.
A good watch. Obviously, you have to watch it to know what's going on with all the other shit. You literally can't miss a Marvel movie. Oh no, well Venom came out too, but Venom 2, I didn't watch that, but it's technically a Sony movie.
Venom was good. I don't think it was as good as the three you just named, but it was good.
Okay, I still have to go watch that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not really relevant anymore because unless it really comes back to something else.
I think it might.
I mean, I've heard
I think it
rumors.
might.
I heard rumors.
I think it definitely might. If it
Anyways,
does.
I don't want to spoil anything because I feel like some people avoided our Spider-Man review because they didn't want spoilers, so I don't want to say anything yet. Um,
Fair. That's fair.
so as
Well, I got time
always,
for now.
yeah. Remember to like, share, rate, review, comment, and subscribe to Disaster Party Podcast on all social media platforms, including YouTube, which this video will be posted on YouTube. So for YouTube, please subscribe, and hit the notify bell. So when we do go live, we will put it on social medias and stuff. But when we go live, you'll get a notification. If you can, give us some good ratings on any podcast app. That does help us, rise in the podcast algorithm. Tell your friends, tell your family, help us grow. We appreciate everyone who listens. So some of the episodes coming up, we have Eric, young entrepreneur, I believe 22, 23. He has a brain like no other. This kid. He started his own Hudson
Smart.
Valley nightlife. He owns like this big venue that he has parties at all the time. Uh, he's a Gary Vee lover. I know he flips shit. He has his own like warehouse, like so much stuff that we could talk to about. He's gonna come on
I'm
next
picking
week.
his brain.
Yeah, he's coming on next week. We're gonna talk everything. Like he literally wants to talk about everything. Like so much. But the week after that, we have the 2022 Royal Rumble. We're gonna have a small group of people at my house to watch it. The Sunday, the day after, we'll probably be going live, so we can all talk about the Rumble, how exciting it was, all that other stuff. So we'll do that the day after. After that, I'm sure we will be recording um, episodes on Boba Fett. I'm not. I'm like 2 episodes behind, 1 episode behind. Peacemaker is already 3 episodes in. I'm excited for talk about that. Heard that's good so far. We have a couple of interviews coming up. We have a couple of Know Thy Neighbors coming up. So keep watch. We're coming for you. Get ready.
Ooh, whoa. Wait for it. Daddy.
As for the Disaster Party podcast, I'm Rob Cedeno.
I'm Andy Vivian.
And we are out. Bye.